Hey, sorry for the audio quality today. I have a really bad cold, and due to circumstances beyond my control, I've had to record in a different room than normal, so the acoustics are a bit different. Anyway, Joker.
For my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed. But I do. And people are starting to notice.
Oh boy. Over the past few weeks, the Joker movie has inspired some really unique cultural conversations. Mainstream media seems hell-bent on making something bad happen around it. Some people see it as a fight back against political correctness, whatever the hell that means, while some of the most quote-unquote politically correct people out there hail it as a modern masterpiece, and I'm sure that Joker movie posters will adorn college and university bedrooms for the next 10 years, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes tackling a movie like Joker in a review difficult, especially for me. See, it seems that Joker is the movie equivalent of a Rorschach test. People who want to see it as counterculture will see it as counterculture. Some who see it as a righteous Occupy-style movement will see it as that. Others might just see it as an outright horror film. However, I don't tend to view movies as a Rorschach. Rather, I take every movie I can at face value and see what it reveals about those making it, and what it's trying to say, if anything, based on the text. This isn't me saying that my way of viewing films is above everyone else's, or that I've been enlightened as a movie critic by watching Citizen Kane one too many times. Of course not. Obviously, I will have blind spots, but it's just how my brain is wired. I really don't take this Rorschach approach watching films. So, what did Joker reveal to me? Well, that it was made by a very talented group of people with an incredible lead performance, but I just wish it put a hell of a lot more thought into what it was trying to say, and the creative decisions that inform those thoughts. The reason I came to this conclusion is that the film is drawing from so many real-life inspirations, from Occupy Wall Street, the opioid epidemic, cut funding, class warfare, viral media shaming, and more. Real-life, modern-day inspirations that are absolutely worthy of depiction and would work as a fascinating modern origin story for the Joker. But Joker isn't set in the modern day. It's set in the early 1980s, where many of those inspirations are completely incompatible. It's depicting a fictional Gotham City that is apparently getting worse by the day, but we never see what a functioning Gotham was, meaning that the audience literally has to do all of the legwork in trying to figure out just what has gone wrong in the city, which is probably why the Rorschach approach to its viewing has stuck. Near the end of the movie, the Joker stands on a soapbox to say that we live in a society, and that's why he is the way he is, even though the entire lengthy and mostly pointless second act of the movie is laying out a contrived and incredibly convoluted backstory for Arthur, which is so specific to him and him alone that it undercuts the whole societal commentary the film is going for, and it only seems to serve the purpose of giving Thomas Wayne something to do and Bruce Wayne a cameo, because this film also wants to take place in a Batman universe. And once again, why is this film set in the 1980s? The only specific 80s reference that this film draws real-life inspiration from is the Bernie Goetz subway shootings of 1984, but that was a clear hate crime done against 4 unarmed African Americans, and Joker removes all of the race-related context, meaning it only takes the iconography of it, but with none of the underlying motivations and messages from it. I think the film takes place in the 1980s because that's when the King of Comedy movie takes place, only a few years removed from Taxi Driver, about similar villain origin stories by Martin Scorsese, to which Joker makes deliberate textual and visual reference to. Not to mention, you can tell that there must have been a massive light bulb moment over at Warner Brothers when they realised that the King of Comedy and the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel both overlap with a late-night talk show host, so Joker delves into that as well. Joker takes place in the 1980s because that's when Martin Scorsese made those films. And that's the issue at the heart of Joker and its director Todd Phillips. I know that Todd's comments in recent months has made me question whether or not he even exists on the same plane of reality as the rest of us, but having seen Joker, it makes sense why he is so quick to drum up controversies or get on the defensive about the reaction to his films, which hadn't even been released at the time he said those things, because it stops people from asking him what his film is actually about. Like a gamer beating a puzzle game by following a walkthrough instead of actually learning how to beat the puzzles himself, Todd Phillips technically finished his project of making Taxi Driver, but with the Joker, but I bet if you put one of those puzzles in front of him right now, he wouldn't have a clue where to begin because he hasn't learned or retained any of the mechanisms or systems behind those puzzles. Joker is full of modern imagery, but with no context or understanding of that imagery. It has the aesthetic of Taxi Driver, but it doesn't seem to understand Taxi Driver beyond a superficial level. It claims to have something to say about society and class and politics, but it contradicts itself as its story goes all over the map, including a subplot with Zazie Beetz which reeks of reshoots and could have been removed entirely and nothing would change. And folks, I don't want you to think that I didn't adore this movie because I object to any of its politics. I really think that we need more media depicting class struggle, and when the revolution begins and we start eating the rich, I'm gonna dive in with my metaphorical cutlery. But just because I agree with a film's politics doesn't mean I automatically like the film or vice versa. But Joker was such a passive experience for me for the reasons that I've laid out before. It's technically well made. Joaquin Phoenix gives a terrific performance with an incredible physicality, which makes him convincing as both the weak and pitiful Arthur Fleck, but also the intimidating revolutionary Joker. He embodies the role with true conviction, making him sympathetic and scary, with his laughing outbursts akin to Tourette syndrome being uncomfortable viewing in all of the right ways. The film's violence, while very brief and understated, was very effective. Its cinematography was great and memorable, and while his role was small, Robert De Niro was great as a oddly multifaceted late-night talk show host, instrumental in Arthur's downfall. I just wish that these elements, especially the Joker himself, was in a better movie than Joker, which isn't so much a mirror to society as much as it is a very expensive and elaborate Instagram filter on much better and substantive work. If Joker is going to be a staple of our current generation of teenagers and young adults with posters plastered on college dorm walls, then that's absolutely fine, though the film is way too passive to inspire any sort of revolution. But those same teenagers are going to have their minds absolutely blown when they watch the significantly better and more thoughtful works that inspired Joker. I give Joker, straight down the middle, 2.5 stars out of 5. The joke's on everyone.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker?
Trilbee.